Something I've been trying to figure out the last few months musically is how to generate sequences that feel both organic but also like intentionally random. And what I mean by that is familiar sounds sequenced in unfamiliar ways and also processed in unfamiliar ways, so that my ear has something to grab onto, like, oh, that's the sound of a piano, but also there's a lot of other stuff going on that makes it interesting. It's great to sit down at a piano and pick something out, but it's also great to kind of set up rules in a system and let the system show you something you may not have come up with otherwise. So this little box is called Norns. It's a Linux-based computer that runs a variety of scripts written in a language called Lua. It can really be whatever you want it to be. It can be a synth, it can be a tape recorder, it can be 100 different things. And I'll link to Lines, which is the forum that kind of curates all of the scripts that are written for Norns. Today we're going to use Norns in two different ways. One, we're going to use it to generate MIDI notes within Ableton Live in a kind of random and generative fashion. We'll do this using a script called Awake, which I'll show you in a minute. It's a really cool step sequencer. Then after we've got a sound that we like in Ableton, we're going to send it back out into the Norns and run a script called Compass, which is one of my favorite scripts for processing audio and playing it back in weird and cool ways. So this is the Norns, and we're going to select the Awake script here and run it. This top sequence of notes are the notes that it's going to play. The bottom notes actually transpose the top notes. Let's change the step length to quarter. Change the scale to major and our root note to C3. Then we're going to drop this probability way, way down to around 30%. So now our sequence is moving a little bit slower, and let's see what we get in live. Again, at this point, the Norns is only sending MIDI data into Ableton. So we'll need to pick an instrument to play, and today I'm going to play the lovely Lekko piano made by Felt Instruments, which I will link to below. It is wonderful, it sounds fantastic, it's like $50. There is no downside to Lekko, please go get it today. Okay, so we can hear Awake from the Norns triggering Lekko within Ableton. So here, before we do anything else, I'm just going to put a compressor on Lekko. I'm going to cut some of the low end, and I'm going to throw a half note delay on to just kind of fill up some space. We're going to just let this capture MIDI for a while, and as we go, I'm going to change up the pattern in Awake so that the notes are never the same twice. At this point, I like to get away from MIDI and actually convert this to audio for a number of different reasons. One, because it's commitment, right? It forces me to commit to this sound and to print it, and I think there's power in that. I don't like keeping all of my options open as I work. It takes up too much of my decision-making power. I also want to add some randomness and some vibe at this point, so I'm going to use one of my favorite pedals, the Hologram Electronics Infinite Jets. I'm going to put it on glitch mode B and play the Lekko out of Ableton into the pedal and then back into Ableton. And that will take care of converting the signal to an audio waveform and adding some more randomness. Without going too deep into the infinite jets here, glitch B plays back short snippets of audio in different slots, and you pick which slot with this dimension knob. Now we're going to automate this knob with an LFO so that it kind of sweeps on its own. So what it should do is grab little pieces of our piano sequence here and play it back in random order. I don't want a completely wet signal here, so we'll turn the dry up. All right, here we go. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. So lastly, what we're going to do is use a script on the Norns called Compass to further process this audio. Compass is a 60-second buffer. Think of it as a cassette tape that's 60 seconds long. The bottom line here is the function command line. Now, each of these spaces does a different thing, and I'll scroll through some of the commands. But essentially, the commands are going to play our audio back at a different speed backwards, half speed, random position. We can randomize the command line itself. So now let's just listen to what Compass does with our audio. And we'll record 2 or 3 minutes of this. So we've taken some very simple piano notes and I think transformed it into something far more interesting and really, really cool. Where you go from here is your choice. You can further process this with plugins. You can reamp it again into another effects chain. It's really up to you. But this has been a good, solid workflow for me in taking a simple input and transforming it into something that I find really interesting. The Norns has been the biggest discovery for me in the last year, and I wholeheartedly recommend that you get one. But if you're handy with a soldering iron, Monome has recently open sourced the hardware and the software. I'll link to that below, but you can build your own for about $100. It looks like this, and it is functionally identical to the pre-made Norns that you can get from Monome. It'll do all of the same stuff. Okay, so that is my workflow with Awake and Compass. Would love to hear your thoughts and also any cool workflows that you have for creating generative music. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.